Welcome back to the Football Tragic. It's match day 28. We're here for the review. There were a few postponed games, so quite quickly, Liverpool versus Fulham was postponed. Man City versus West Ham was postponed. And obviously, Brighton versus Manchester United was postponed due to FA Cup games that did take place later this week. But Baxter, thank you for joining me once again. I know it is late. It is a late Monday night. It's 9:35 p.m. at time of recording. So if we do make a few errors, please obviously take it a bit easy on us. We're ready to go to bed. We've still got to get up in the morning and do our job. So, Baxter, let's jump straight into it. As Nottingham Forest 1, Newcastle 2. Forest took the lead here, and I thought it was one of those games where you're going to see an underdog pull through. They're going to get the result. However, Isak pops up in stoppage time in the first half to make it 1-1, and obviously a penalty in the 93rd minute. So, second half stoppage time did get them the result from Isak's boot. What did you make of this game? What do you make of Forest? Are they actually in trouble this year? And then obviously Newcastle, what do you make of them?
No, I don't have them troubling at the moment. They've still got a game in hand to play. If they win that, they jump up to 29 points, which should see them, if everybody else loses, 12th. But if they are going to lose, they've got a point to separate them in relegation. So they've got some safety barriers there, but unlucky for Forest. Good win for Newcastle United as they've got two games in hand. It was good to see Newcastle come back from being behind and rolling into Sunday.
Yeah, 100%. Now, obviously, they do go on international breaks, so it is quite lucky for some of these teams. They do get to have a bit of a break now, but let's roll straight on to Brentford. It was Brentford 1, Leicester 0. A result that I expected Brentford to get the win here. A team that's flying at the moment. They're playing good football versus a Leicester that looks to have lost their way a little bit under Rodgers. Now, I'll bring up the ladder quite quickly. Brentford currently sitting 8th on 42 points, while Leicester sit 1 point away from relegation. So this was a massive result for Leicester. It does mathematically take them out of relegation. However, West Ham do have a game in hand, so they could still be dragged back down there. But what did you make of this? And is this that's a stupid question, but is this a better point for Leicester than Brentford? Or if you're Leicester, will you go on, man, this is a game we should have taken all 3 points?
Yeah, Brentford should have taken all 3 points from this because they sit 8th, but you got Brighton in front of them who've got 3 games in hand on everybody else. So, they win those games and they sit on 51 points, which could sit them 3rd if everybody loses around them. So it dropped points for Brentford, but a good result, so to say, for Leicester to sort of climb them out of that relegation zone.
Yeah, 100%. I've got to agree with you there. I thought it was a good result for Leicester. When you are at the bottom of the ladder, a point is a point, whether it's against first or last. It can go a long way in helping you survive at the end of the season. And that's just what another team in that relegation position did do. It was Southampton versus Tottenham. It was a 3-3 draw.
Oh.
Where do I start here? Pedro puts Tottenham ahead in the 45th minute. Che Adams in the second half equalises in a minute in the 46th minute. Harry Kane goes and puts them back ahead in the 65th. Perisic goes and puts them one step further ahead in the 74th. And then Theo Walcott in the 77th. And obviously Prowsey from the penalty spot in the 93rd. As a whole, what did you make of this game? What do you make of Southampton? What do you make of Tottenham? But let's talk about Conte's post-game interview. Is that a man that's just going, I'm going to say whatever I have to say to get me sacked?
Yeah, I think he's trying to say everything without getting sort of illegal action taken against him to lose his job. Southampton, good to see. I know they sit last, but good to see them scrape a point at home. And as we touched on, point to point when you're in that relegation zone. But I think this is a game drop points for Tottenham because everybody around them has games in hand on them and they sit 4th. Newcastle got 2 games ahead and games in hand on them with 2 points behind. Liverpool the same, who are only 7 points behind them. you could see Tottenham just slowly dropping down that ladder and maybe out of Europe altogether. But at the moment, they sit fourth, point to point, and they need to look good from now to the end of the season with 10 games to go.
Yeah, well, like you said, there are that Newcastle, that Liverpool, but if you go one step further, 7 points behind them with 3 games in hand is the high-flying Brighton. So, like you said, they could see themselves drop out of these positions altogether when it comes to Europe. And for a club that thinks they're as big as these bigger clubs, that can compete, that's made a Champions League final, they didn't win it, but not so long ago making that, it's very dangerous if you do not make Europe. But moving on to a team that is steadily okay. They're sitting in 11th. They've beaten Bournemouth 3-0. It's Aston Villa 3-0. Villa, they continue to climb towards that mid-table / safety. They're now, where are we? They're 11 points clear of Crystal Palace in 12th position. So they're looking like they're good. But for Bournemouth, they're sitting second last. They've won only 2 of their last 5. They're on minus 29. They've only won 6 games. Are the cherries going down?
Yeah, I think this all started with the sacking of Scott Parker early on in the season, and I think the club just hasn't looked, the squad as a whole hasn't looked themselves from part of the last year in the Championship. They played some really attractive football in the Championship. Yeah, it's only the Championship, but I thought they could, coming into this year, they could sort of hold their own and sort of scrape that sort of 14th to 17th spot and stay up this year. A good win for Aston Villa nonetheless. I think if you're any team outside the Big Six and you finish above one of those teams, I think that's just a glory pass mark. The man should just get a statue in his honour made outside that Big Six club. So Chelsea make room for a good evening statue.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Like you said, they are sitting around that Chelsea. They're equal with them. For and against does let them down, but it's not too far. And if I'm looking at the last 5, they have claimed, whereas Villa has claimed 9-10 points from their last 15, and Chelsea has only claimed 7. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, how they finish. But let's keep the ball rolling. A result that could potentially, to the disheartening of myself, keep a team up in the Premier League this year. It was obviously Wolves going down to Leeds. It was 2-4. I don't even want to talk about this game. I'm disappointed. I thought if Leeds can lose this game, they're probably going to go down. They're going to get relegated, but they got the result done. What do you make of the resilience here from Leeds? And obviously, Johnny and Matthew Nunes were sent off for Wolves.
Yeah, look, if they don't win this game, they sit on 23 points and they sit second last, Leeds United. So it was a massive win for them, and that pushes them 1 point behind Wolves with that game in hand. Unlucky on the red cards. I think they were deserved. No arguments about it. So back to the drawing board for Wolves. I don't see them dropping down into that relegation zone, but you need to do whatever it takes to stay above.
Yeah, it's 100% now. Obviously, Wolves should survive. They can pull results out of their ass when they need to. Maybe they need to sign a few more Portuguese players, because that definitely worked for them when they were doing that left, right, and centre. And who knows if they've got the money as a player playing over in Saudi Arabia, some young lad known as Cristiano Ronaldo that might be able to come over and help them score a few goals. But let's jump into the last 2 games of the week. It was Chelsea dropping points again to Everton. Now, they all laughed when they appointed this manager for Everton. He's now got them 2 points clear of safety. Now, I know they've played extra games. They could still drop down, but what he's done since he's been here, what he's done in the last 5 games to get 5 points from 15, it's quite impressive. And each time a team struggles, we say, get the big man in. He'll do the job. Get him in. He can do the job. And he's done the job again. So Chelsea thought they were on a roll. They thought they were slowly gaining momentum. They're brought back down to earth by Everton. What did you make of this game?
This is Chelsea through and through for this season. They look good in moments. They get that sort of the lead and they get it snatched right back off them. and points are shared across the two teams. And Sean Dyche, hats off to you, man. You won your first game against Arsenal, looked good, and I think you've just done better things as the season's gone along. And if they can keep Everton up, he deserves a contract for life.
Whoa, calm down. I'm not ready to see a team in the Premier League with Sean Dyche for life, especially if it's Everton. So, yes, he probably does deserve an extension if he does keep him staying up, but he does definitely not deserve a contract for life. Let him stay him up. Then he can go away and never take the lead job, because I hope they do go down. But let's move into the final game of the round now. It was your boys, Arsenal 4, Crystal Palace 1. Before we talk about this game, I kind of just want to talk about Arsenal as a whole. 5 from their last 5, 66 goals scored, 26 against, 22 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses. It's unbelievable now. They are, at this stage, 8 points clear of Man City. Man City do have a game in hand, but like we said last year, points on the board mean a lot more than points in games in hand. So, talk to me about this result. I can see you're buzzing. Talk to me about Arsenal.
Mate, we're an elephant stuck up a tree. Don't know how we got there. God knows why we're there, but we're hanging on for dear life and trying to shoo away this Man City that's creeping up upon us. But it was good to see. Unlucky for Patrice Evra to get the sack days before coming up to this game. Arsenal go on to win 4-1. This is, I think, the first time Palace have leaked. I think it was 3 or 4 goals in a match this season. So was it Patrice Evra? Not Patrice, Patrick Vieira. His masterclass in trying to keep the scoreline maybe 1 or 2-0 against Crystal Palace, or players are just reacting, not playing for the interim coach. It's just sad to see because, like, I think I touched on with you, Tony, that Palace has run in the last games or so. They had sort of a hard run, and then after now they're looking like they've got an easier run into the end. And he didn't do as good as expected in the last 10 games before us, but maybe I think you should judge it at the end of the year or closer to the end of the year, not with 10 games to go, because I still they sit in 12th. 10 games to go. That's let's just say they win all their remaining games, so they're sitting with 27 points. Give them 30, that's 57. That gives them sort of a mid of the top table finish, and that's probably a good result for Palace. But I think it's a bit of a harsh call to sack him this close to this far away from him. I know it's only 10 games, but we've got about 2.5 months of football. Maybe if this was like 4 games ago or 5 games ago, and Palace are sitting in the exact same position, maybe then pull the trigger then and release him. But he's just come through a period where he had no Zaha, a few other key players missing, and he's played I think most of the top 10 sides as it stands right now, maybe once or twice already. And whilst he hasn't been getting points on the board, he's done a terrific job in sort of maintaining and keeping the morale up and whatnot. But it's a little bit. He's an ex-Arsenal player, and he's close to my heart because I thought he was one of the greatest players to ever put on an Arsenal jersey. So unlucky for him, but rumours are that Roy Hodgson will take over as the interim coach for the remaining of the 10 matches. So we'll just wait to see what they're going to do. But on our point, a shocking exit from the Europa League with that penalty shootout. It's good to see that I didn't want to take an easier team in the Europa League. I think Sporting are a terrific club and a very strong club in Portugal. So to get us to 3-3, it was good to see, unlike other teams in Europe who sick to my stomach to see their results anyway. So apart from that, this is a good response, and hopefully from now to then, we play. I think we're going to play Liverpool, Chelsea, and Man City. So hopefully we can keep the points gap the same from now to the end of the season, and we can be crowned champions. But I'm not saying that famous line and getting us jinxed.
Yeah, well, it's definitely like you said. Let's talk about obviously Palace quickly, like you did allude to. They did play Chelsea. They played United twice. They played Newcastle. They've played Brentford. They've played Liverpool. They've played City. They've played Brentford again, and now they've played Arsenal. So let's just look at those results quite quickly. Chelsea, they lost 1-0. They drew 1-1 with United, 0-0 with Newcastle. They just lost 2-1 to United. They drew 1-0 with Palace. They drew 0-0 with Liverpool. They've only lost narrowly 1-0 to both City and Brighton, and obviously then lost to you guys 4-1. So, like you said, it probably is a bit premature, but if they've got someone they think that's coming in next year, or their expectations were set too high and he didn't meet those expectations, then I guess we'll kind of have to wait to see what comes out there. But Baxter, obviously, Arsenal are flying. They're out of Europa. Yes, it hurts, but for me, that gives them a massive boost running into the back end of this season with no other European games, no FA Cup games, no Carabao Cup games. They're here to focus, obviously, on the league. So if you were a betting man, I think it'd be about 60-40 because when City are chasing, it's probably not over until the fat lady sins. But Baxter, that has been Matchday 38. 38. God, I'm trying to give you the title already. That was Matchday. What are we even up to? I'm having an absolute shocker at the moment. That has been the match day. We have reviewed it. I guess I'll leave you with one more question. And I'm not going to make you say we're top of the league. I'm not going to make you say that. Do you believe Arsenal will lift the title come the end of the season?
Well, as you alluded to, we're out of every cup competition. We've just got 10 games to go from now till the end of the season. City, if you look at the ladder, City have got Champions League. You guys have also got Europa and Tottenham.
Man, don't even throw us in that. We're out of that title race.
I'm just going down the ladder. Newcastle, they're too far away, as well as Tottenham and the rest are follow. But like the top, like you guys and City, are the two sort of closest in hand. But like you both got Europe, you've both got other things you worry about, and I think Pep's already said, he's more concerned worrying about the Champions League than the league. But if the league, if he did win the league, I don't think he'd not take it. So as I quickly look at the betting odds here, Arsenal are $1.53, Man City are $2.40, and Man United are 101. So maybe chuck on a cheeky $1 and reward yourself with an extra $100 there if they are to win the league. So can they win it? I'm hoping so, but as I said, we've got Liverpool, City, and Chelsea. Liverpool are looking like they need to bounce back from that awful exit from the Champions League. City, we saw what happened to them. To us early on in the season, and Chelsea is just Chelsea. I think we can walk them. So, if we lose two of those two games, then there goes our lead because City's got that game in hand on us. So really, we have to concentrate from now to the end of the season. Rotating the squad isn't that much important now unless there's injuries, where there aren't really major injuries to go from now to the end of the season. I know Tomiyasu and Saliba came off injured early in the Europa League second leg match, but apparently it was just precautionary early. They sort of jumped the gun to take him off in the match. So good to see. And
you know what it was. You know what it was. It was a pure Arteta masterclass, getting them to come off injured before the international break, so they can't go away. But nonetheless, it is an exciting title race. It is going to go down to the wire. It has those feels that could come down to that Arsenal versus Man City clash as to who takes his title at the end of the season. But like we were saying, I've corrected myself. It is match day 28, not 38. There's 10 games to go. The title race is on. But Baxter, thank you for joining me. We'll be back soon to talk about match day 29 after the international break.
Peace.